Hi, and welcome to the pre-lesson recording for Lesson 2 for Research Project. Today we're going to be talking about writing a question and ethical research. So we talked a little bit about this last week, but how do you narrow down your topic? So the first thing you need to do is choose an area of interest. The second thing you need to do is complete a Lotus diagram or mind map for your topic. Then you formulate a question, and then we evaluate the effectiveness of your question. So here's some things to consider when researching. Here's the physical phenomenon, and you might look at effects and consequences. So perhaps, say we're talking about, what's an example? Climate change. So perhaps you want to do your research project on climate change. That's what goes in the middle. Effects and consequences of climate change. Various case studies that have been conducted already on climate change and their results. Awareness. What do people know or don't know about climate change? Specific features. So what are some of the characteristics of climate change? What are the, how do we identify that it's happening? What do we know about it from the past? And causes. How has climate change been caused? Things to consider when researching a social phenomenon. So perhaps marijuana use. So what does it involve? Possible consequences of doing it, the attitudes of others, who is involved, and why do they do it. An event. Perhaps you might look at the Berlin Wall. So what were the effects or consequences of the Berlin Wall being put up or being torn down? What other events were involved during that particular time period? What were the causes of the Berlin Wall? Who was involved? When did it happen? Where did it happen? A process or construction. So perhaps you want to research how to travel to Europe on a $2,000 budget. So what's the purpose of you doing that? What can be learnt, etc. What are the parts that are involved? So what is involved in travelling? What do you need? What are the bits and pieces involved? What are the costs and resources? So it's going to be a big part of it. What are the procedural steps? So perhaps how do you plan the budget? How do you book the trip? And what are the improvements? What's happened over time that's changed your ability to travel within that budget? So here's what I would do. And we're going to do this once you've listened to the video. When we're in class next week, we're actually going to do the Lotus diagram in class. So you're going to have 10 minutes to go away and complete your Lotus diagram. You're welcome to start it now if you like, but we are going to do it in class. So your topic goes in the middle. So we have a good example here. So this person's looking at Cyclone Yasi. So what's related to Cyclone Yasi? Weather, aid, destruction, impact on people, insurance, disaster plans. They've managed to come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 subtopics. And then they've expanded them. So weather goes in over here. What's related to weather and Cyclone Yasi? So how cyclones develop, impact on other regions of Australia, climate change. What about destruction? What's related to both destruction and Cyclone Yasi? Lots of natural vegetation, loss of natural vegetation and wildlife, rebuilding, damage to crops, e.g. bananas and the increased cost of bananas for everyone else around Australia, damage to infrastructure. What about disaster plans? Emergency services, evacuation centres, the role of the Premier. So you can see how we've taken this very general topic, Cyclone Yasi, we've expanded it out into subtopics, and then we've looked at how the main idea is related to these subtopics. You can also do a mind map, which I'm sure you've all done a mind map before. You kind of have an idea of how that works. Refining your question. So you want to look at things like we talked about climate change before. To what extent will climate change affect natural disasters in Australia? What treatments are available for young people who are addicted to marijuana? We talked about marijuana before. What are the negatives of traveling on a $2,000 budget? These are the kind of questions you want to be asking. You want to consider age group, so you want to refine your question down. So you might decide to do the impacts of marijuana on teenagers. So rather than might want to look at the impacts of marijuana, and you might refine it down to people aged 15 to 25. Or you might want to do climate change, and you've got to narrow it down. You can't just say what are the effects of climate change. What will the effects of climate change in South Australia be over the next 20 years? So you're looking at time frame, you're looking at place or location. Traveling, how can I plan a trip to Europe in 2016 within a $2,000 budget? So you're being specific. You're refining your question. So your question can focus on a specific age group. So e.g. the effects of social media use of 13 to 15-year-olds, a specific gender, e.g. the positive and negative effects of Australian celebrities on girls, a specific place or location, e.g. the impact of youth unemployment in the northern suburbs of Adelaide, or the casualty rate in World War I in France compared with. So a specific budget or cost, so to build a gaming computer for under $1,800. Duration, the effectiveness of a structured weights program carried out for 3 months. Time period, the development in computer technology from 1970 to 1990. Causes, so the psychological, social and family cultural causes of. The effects on student academic and mental health of, for example, going back to our other example, marijuana use. A specific group, e.g. people with or without tattoos, a language or cultural group, a subculture like emo, goth, straight edge, people who skate, have depression, are obese, etc. And then a specific skill or skills. So the development of defense, attacking and ball movement skills in. So use of words like analyze, compare, contrast, significance, effect, impact, extent, these all make for well-refined questions. So your research project topic should be written as a question, not a statement. So your topic might be the impacts of climate change in South Australia throughout the next 20 years. Your question might be, to what extent, so we're using one of these words, to what extent will climate change impact the South Australian coast in the next 20 years? So it should be refined. Should be not easy to answer, so not just require a yes or no answer. Not just require a list of facts and not be easily answered by a student in year 8. Should offer some challenge or depth of research to answer. So you should be able to go deep into your research. The deeper you can go into your research, the more resourceful you have to be, and the more challenges your research presents, the better your research project is going to be. Should allow you to use at least 3 different research methods to find information. So if you are only going to be able to use the internet to research your topic, it's not a good topic. You need to choose something else. And it should take more than 5 minutes on Google to find the answer. So a good test is to try and Google the answer to your question. If it takes you less than 5 minutes on Google to find the answer, pick something else. That's what I would recommend. This is how we narrow down your research topic. So your goal in the research project is to focus on and explore a particular topic. If your topic is too broad, finding and interpreting information about the topic would be like preparing to write an entire book. So you need to choose a narrower topic that provides you with a clear focus. So here's the example. Up the top of the narrowing down triangle, we have environmental issues, then global warming, then the effect of cars, and then hybrid cars. And what we do is we use these things to help us produce these questions. So how does hybrid technology reduce fuel consumption? You can see how that relates hybrid cars hybrid cars to global warming and the effect of them? Does driving a hybrid car significantly reduce factors that lead to global warming? What is the battery life of hybrid cars? What is the environmental effect of disposing the batteries? So do you see how we've gone, well, I want to talk about environmental issues, and I think I want to talk about global warming and perhaps the effect of cars on global warming. And to be even more specific, I'm going to look at hybrid cars in particular. And here are the questions I have about how hybrid cars relate to the effect of cars on global warming. Okay, so that's the first part of what we're going to be doing in the next lesson. We're also going to be looking at ethical research. So ethical research in the research project has two components: integrity and honesty, and respect for other people. So that's for their rights, beliefs, perceptions, customs, and cultural heritage. So in order to demonstrate integrity and honesty, you need to avoid plagiarism, respect copyright, avoid fabrication and falsification, and acknowledge all sources. In order to have respect for other people, you may want to pause the video here and read all of these. You need to do all of these things. So have a pause of the video and have a closer look at each of those. These are the things that you need to be referring to throughout your folio. So you can put in an annotation in your folio that states, here I asked permission for people to use or publish their information. You will also need to discuss in your proposal how you're going to be ethical. What ethical considerations does your project specifically need to take into account? So spend some time thinking, which of these are you going to need to consider when you're conducting your research? Okay, so during the lesson, we're going to be completing the Lotus diagram or mind map. Afterwards, you'll complete the narrowing down triangle. You can watch a fair use tale now or after next lesson, and this will be your journal entry based on ethical research. So I'll see you in class then. Bye-bye.